This is Wayne Barboza at www.CapeVerdean.net. I'm the elder of the Barboza tribe, and I have a message. I have to deliver this directly to the African American and the Cape Verdean American. Of course, the message is open to all human beings. We're all one family. But many of us have been divided, and we don't know what this barrier that keeps us divided. Well, today I'm going to try to go back into the facts that surround the separation of our people. Whatever it is, you'll have to agree, but you can't disagree before you get the information. As far as the Cape Verdean people are concerned, less than 50 years ago, in fact, if we want to go back to the 1975 independence, July 5th, you realize that some kind of deal went down, otherwise it would have been a war. And Cape Verde has no law. So today we have to talk about sacred land. And when I say sacred land, I'm talking about what our founding fathers and forefathers knew. Go back as long as you want, as far as you want. You're only going to find our logos. We're there. This is chapter 6. Well, today we're going to try to look up the true history of how the African American got here, how the Cape Verdean American were involved, and why it's been such a shameful secret between the white and the Cape Verdean people. Hopefully today young people will realize that we were calling ourselves white not too long ago. We didn't recognize African Americans, nor did we live around them or with them. And they knew us as the light skin or red bones, and we weren't niggers, that's for sure. We didn't want to have anything to do with them because that meant that whatever you have, you're going to lose. So I personally want to apologize to our African American people. They are our people, and we're theirs. And by telling you the history, maybe you can make the connection, because Cape Verde, or Cape Verde as most American knows, is a very untold story. And this is our attempt to bring the land, the people, the heritage, and the culture together.
I became, as a geologist, interested in why sacred sites were sacred, why certain people were drawn to certain places, and I wrote my first book about this because I would hear people say, oh, there's a portal in my bedroom and there's a ley line in my front yard, and I knew there was more to it than that. And I wanted to take the woo-woo out of something that I think is a very valid science as a geologist and as a person that very often would fast and seek spirit in certain places. And so that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm going to talk about the dynamics of the living earth, and we will begin here.
Yeah.
Where you walk through there?
Yeah.
And I thought that just ride right over and stuff like that. They fuck this, but they didn't. They just turned around and they go all the way around now.
Well, you know, that little walkway with that compass,
Yeah.
you might say it has a little mojo magic to it, you know, a little curse there.
Nothing wrong with that.
You know, because it does work on the psyche, you know what I mean?
Germ that was like dust, having no form, no purpose, until Yakub took that dust, gave it form and expression, and made a man from the dust of the earth. Now it took 200 years of this process to produce a brown civilization, a brown people. That brown people are known as the Japanese. A few of them left the island and were given a place in Asia. 200 more years and a yellow man was made, the Chinese, and we gave them a place on our planet. But in every place that we sent them to live, there were already original people living there. But their nature was to eliminate the original inhabitants in order to establish themselves. So now you have a remnant of the Ainu people in Japan and a remnant of original people in China. We had 200 more years of this process, and at the end of 600 years, we had a pale person with blue eyes, blonde hair, and white skin. The bone was weak, the face was pale, the blood was weaker. To this day, the scientists can look at the bone of a Caucasian and tell you, this is a Caucasian. They can look at the bone and say it's an Asian or an African. We can't tell it, but the scientists can. So on this island of Philan, races began. And races have beginnings, and races have endings. Allah said in the Quran, He sent messengers of prophets into every nation. Some you know and some you don't know. Some are mentioned and some are not. Well, if you notice, no Asian nation has been given a scripture that deals with their destruction. Every prophet that was raised from Mecca and the surrounding areas, their light shone westward. So there was not a prophetic voice out of Africa that talked to the Africans about destruction. No, the Torah is full of prophecies relating to the end times of a people and the destructive force that God will use to bring about that end. So you have Torah and you have Injil, both of these books and both of these prophets who revealed these books, Moses and Jesus, talked about the end and a destructive end to the wicked. Now comes Prophet Muhammad and this great book, Quran. This book brings clarity to the Torah and the Injil, but this book also speaks of the end of the wicked and their followers in a raging fire of hell. No such teaching was among Africans or Buddhists or Confucius people. They don't talk about an end because they may survive the destruction of this world. Now let us look at the man that was made. As the planet Earth is inclined to the plane of its orbit, 23 degrees and a half, there's a natural leaning to the planet. So is there a natural leaning in the nature of the original man toward the God Allah who originated our existence. There is also in the made man a leaning, but he's leaning in an opposite direction. He leans toward the very thing that went on in the womb where he was being made, lying, murder, and stealing. An inclination does not mean you have to do that, but Yaqub fed the inclination toward murder, lying, and stealing in a system of tricks and lies that would enable the new man to master the original people of the earth until the coming and the presence of God that would be seen in the great Mahdi who would come, and with him the Messiah. After 600 years, a new man was finally made, unalike, to attract all others to himself. The final product is the apex of lying, stealing, and murder, and he is to master the brown, the yellow, and any color that comes from intermixing with the races, and he is to master the original man and bring out of us what we never thought was in us. We want you to think about this. Everywhere you go on this planet, The blacker you are, the more you are subjected to pain from those who are lighter than yourself. The Lanchados, the Portuguese, came into the Cape Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa and mixed with black women and made a lighter-skinned person, and then indoctrinated that lighter-skinned black person to set up a trading post in Africa. And at first, the Lanchados were trading legitimate materials, and then they started trading in black human beings. And the lighter-skinned black man was made to hate the darker-skinned black man, so it was easier for the white man to direct that light-skinned one to bring out of Africa our brothers and sisters and put them in the transatlantic slave trade. Wherever you see the white man, wherever the black man was predominating, he came in and moved the black man out. Even though in the Arab world, the Muslims, the white Muslims, they are the same white people that were made on the island of Pilan. And remember, those that created havoc in the Holy Land were driven into the hills and cave sides of Europe, where they went savage. But there were a group of whites that remained in the Holy Land that were hidden by the holy people, and they never experienced cave life. They grew up in the Holy Land among us, but the nature and the inclination of them toward the darker people was the same. They pushed out the original Egyptians, and a lighter-skinned man took power. In Arabia, the land of the blacks, the land of the blacks in Sudan, the land of the blacks in Egypt, wherever there was mixture, the whites began to rule the blacks and push them out. Even in Mecca, we were there first, and today it is a light-skinned or white Arab that rules in Mecca and in the Holy Land and in the Middle East. No one can tell us that whites don't have that Cronus complex, because wherever I have traveled in the Muslim world, I see black people under the rule of white Arabs, some of whom may be less qualified than the blacks, who are submitting to the rule of lighter-skinned or white Arabs. So when we become Muslims, we are not joining an Arab religion. We're coming back to the original nature of God, which is the nature of ourselves. All black people are by nature Muslims, no matter what you call yourself, and Islam is the natural religion of the black man. Muammar Gaddafi, in his Green Book, wrote that we are living in a time when the blacks will prevail. He knew that a time was coming when the blacks would rise. That's what resurrection means, that that which once was great is now brought down, would come back up again by the power of that one who the originator willed into existence, that is called Mahdi. Look at the transatlantic slave trade. It's this psychosexual conflict that Caucasians had, and this was their instruction from Yaqub, that they should mix in with every people that they had conquered and destroyed them. So this breeding, this is the way they were made, so it's in them to breed themselves into that out of which they came. Well, on the plantation, the breeding idea, which was a part of their nature, they inbred themselves into the slaves in the Caribbean, Central and South America. Wherever they had free access to the black woman, they bred her with themselves. The point is, whenever they bred themselves into us, they made a distinction between the lighter ones and the darker ones. And the lighter one was always given preferential treatment. Even after slavery, in the homes of black people, a light-skinned child was always given preferential treatment. So a caste system was being set up, and we facilitated it, because the light-skinned child was always the holy baby that was going to grow up to be a great one. So